Hey guys, this is Josh Nelson with Nelson Elder Care Law. Thank you for joining us today on Live with a Lawyer every Wednesday at 3 p.m. We had a little bit of technical difficulties last week, so we're going to go ahead and reshoot this one because I think it's an important topic. The real question that we all run into is, as we hear about new investments, as we hear about new financial products like Bitcoin, Ether, Dogecoin, what do we do with these things? Especially if we're holding them individually on a wallet, or maybe if we're using something like a trading exchange like Kraken or Coinbase. What happens to these in relation to our estate plan? As money grows in these different products or in these different financial instruments, they turn into real wealth. That's why people are investing in them. It doesn't mean that you're not going to lose value. And I want to be clear that this is not financial advice. I'm not saying go out and get a bunch of Dogecoin or Shiba or even Cardano. But it's important to think about, if you do decide to invest in those, if it's part of your balanced portfolio, what happens if you pass away suddenly? The laws, as we all know, if we invest in cryptocurrency, really are still changing and evolving, and they haven't kept up with the pace of technology, which is pretty common whenever new technology comes out. So what do you do as an investor that maybe has a couple $100 or maybe a couple $1,000 or even $100,000 in your investments? That's what we're going to talk about today. Appreciate you for joining us. Again, I'm Josh Nelson from Nelson Elder Care Law, where we help protect you from the curveballs of life. We want to make sure that your family's having a smooth transition if something happens to you, and that while you're alive, we're protecting your assets. One of the big things that most of my clients that invest in Coinbase or Kraken or different exchanges are really looking for is privacy and anonymity. And these products are great for that. There's a whole DeFi sector out there that over the next 5 years, many experts are saying are going to change the way that we bank. The problem that we run into is, as these coins like Cardano that used to be worth 4 cents or a fraction of a penny even just a couple of years ago, start to reach $2 a coin, or Dogecoin, or these other meme coins that are having 1,700% gains in a short period of time, can really change people's lives in the right direction. Unfortunately, what happens if they're still that way, or there's still value in your cold storage? What happens if your Coinbase account becomes inaccessible because that two-factor authentication that you use to log in can't be done without you and your cell phone? These are questions that the law is trying to grapple with right now, but there are a couple great practices for you guys. First and foremost, you have to understand that whenever we have cold storage, it's a physical thing. We don't have our 12-word key to be able to get into that. If we pass away, that's probably lost forever. Right now, there's an estimated 20% of all Bitcoin, or over $140 billion, has been lost just because whenever people were early adopters, they didn't really make a plan. They got through the first halving, things dropped in value, they lost their USB drive, their cold storage, they've lost their passwords, their keys, and those coins were just lost forever. It's part of the deflationary action of crypto. Whenever we start talking about that, though, that's a huge mistake. How do you lose millions of dollars and not know it? That's even for people that are alive. And so how do we really make sure we don't lose it whenever we pass? We have to make sure that, first of all, our loved ones know that these assets exist. Especially because some of the stereotyping that goes on with new technology like cryptocurrency, some people, especially whenever they start investing, are ashamed. Especially if you're riding that roller coaster, everybody wants to share whenever it goes up. There's a little bit of a market correction, and then you get judged, so people stop talking about it. Do your loved ones, does your spouse, do your children, do your parents if you're younger, know where to find your assets? There's no database where a loved one can just log in and see everything that you have. And that's probably a good thing. But whenever you pass, it becomes a bad thing really quickly if we can't find those assets. Just the same way that if there's a bank account out there that your family doesn't know about and you die, it takes many years often to find that. The problem with cryptocurrency is because it's not regulated the same way banks are, just because there's no activity on your account doesn't mean that eventually they're going to reach out to your next of kin or even publish it anywhere in the US. You take an exchange like Kraken or Qcoin that's not even located here, and they aren't under the same rules of the US government. Now, we all know your customer, but for the most part, that's only for money laundering, trafficking things. That's not for your estate. And so if we lose access to your Kraken account, where nobody knows that your Kraken account exists, that money's gone. It's not the generational wealth you're trying to build for your family. If you have somebody that's a US-based brokerage, sort of like Coinbase, a trading house, the good news is that US probate laws will still allow access to that account. One of the bad things is they don't allow for putting beneficiaries on there like you would for your IRA or for even a deposit account like a checking or savings account. So for your Coinbase account, unless you have a plan for it, you're still going through probate. And that could be huge if you have a lot of wealth in there. If you have an even worse situation, which is like Qcoin or Kraken or cold storage, there's no way for our probate courts to open those accounts. Even with a court order for Qcoin, nobody's getting that money. So how do we make sure that we have the right protections? First and foremost, we got to make sure that we have a plan. Just like everything else that you want to move smoothly through your estate, having a plan is better than not having a plan. Losing $100 million because your cold storage password key gets lost is not going to be fun to explain to anyone, but your family's really going to be let down if they thought that was coming to them. Your risk and your investment early in a project could all be for naught if it doesn't transition the way that you thought. You need to make sure that you have your 12-word key in a spot that your loved ones can find. There are online passwords. There's actually smart contracts that can track this for you. The technology is so new that a lot of people that I work with don't feel safe doing that. And so this is actually seeing a resurgence in safety deposit boxes. Maybe that's the route we need to go. If you put your 12-word key into your safety deposit box, you need to make sure that people have access to it and that people know what it is. You have to accept the fact that a lot of your loved ones, or who's going to be handling your estate whenever you're gone, might not be as up to date on the technology as you, and they just look at it as 12 silly words that you scribbled down on a piece of paper, not realizing that this is the key to your wealth. If you have questions about how your cryptocurrency or other investments might be affected by you passing, make sure you reach out to us at Nelson Elder Care Law. We'll help walk you through, complimentary of course, to make sure you understand how this affects you and your loved ones going forward so you can get a real estate plan in place. Again, thank you for joining me live with a lawyer. This is Josh Nelson from Nelson Elder Care Law.